This video is created solely for educational purposes only. Viewers' discretion is advised. Please like, subscribe, and watch with an open mind. Thank you. Mary and Kaya had been best friends for as long as they could remember. They had survived the tough years of university together, pushing through exams, late-night study sessions, and shared dreams of a bright future. But now, reality was nothing like they had imagined. After graduating, they expected to land good jobs, start their careers, and finally enjoy the fruits of their hard work. Instead, they were stuck in a never-ending cycle of disappointment. For months, they applied for jobs, attended countless interviews, and faced rejection after rejection. They watched as their classmates posted pictures online, fancy offices, company lunches, and glowing job announcements. Meanwhile, Mary and Kaya barely had enough money to eat. Their small apartment was falling apart. The walls were stained, the fan barely worked, and every night they slept hungry. Their only source of income was their cleaning jobs. Every morning, they scrubbed office floors, cleaned toilets, and wiped down desks, all while being treated like they were invisible. One evening, as Mary dragged herself home, she dropped her mop on the floor and slumped onto the bed. "I can't do this anymore," she muttered, frustration thick in her voice. Kaya, equally exhausted, sighed. "What choice do we have? We've tried everything." That night, Mary lay in bed scrolling through job listings on her phone. Most of them required years of experience or connections they didn't have. Just as she was about to give up, an ad caught her eye. Luxury lifestyle in Dubai. Make $5,000 a night. Free flights, luxury accommodation, VIP treatment. Only for beautiful ladies. Her heart pounded. $5,000 a night. That was more than they made in an entire year. "Kaya, look at this," she said excitedly, shoving her phone toward her friend. Kaya frowned as she read the ad. "Mary, this isn't a job. It's, prostitution." Mary sat up. "So what?" "It's just for a while. Think about it. We can make enough money to start our own business and leave. No more suffering." Kaya hesitated. It sounded too good to be true, but the next day, everything changed. At work, their cruel boss yelled at her for missing a tiny stain on the floor. Before she could even explain, he slapped her across the face. Humiliated and furious, Kaya ran home in tears. She looked at Mary, her face set with determination. "Let's do it," she said. They dialed the number on the ad. A woman answered with the sweetest voice. "Hello, darlings. My name is Sharon. Dubai will change your lives," she promised. "Just send me your details, and I'll handle everything." It felt like a dream. Within a week, they had their travel documents, flight tickets, and a promise of a glamorous future. As they packed their bags, Kaya turned to Mary. "Do you think we're making a mistake?" Mary took a deep breath. "We've been suffering for too long, Kaya. This is our chance." With that, they stepped out of their tiny apartment, ready to chase the life they had always dreamed of. The moment Mary and Kaya stepped off the plane in Dubai, they felt like they had entered a different world. The air smelled fresh, the airport sparkled under bright lights, and everything around them screamed luxury. This was nothing like the tiny apartment they had left behind. At the arrivals section, a tall man in a suit held a sign with their names. He smiled politely as they approached. "Welcome to Dubai, ladies," he said, taking their bags. "Follow me." They climbed into a black luxury car, the kind they had only seen in movies. The seats were soft leather, and cool air filled the vehicle. Kaya looked at Mary with excitement. "Can you believe this?" she whispered. Mary shook her head. It all felt unreal. The car drove through the city, passing towering skyscrapers and streets lined with expensive cars. Soon, they arrived at a 5-star hotel, its golden lights shining like a palace. As they stepped inside, a beautiful woman with long wavy hair and expensive jewelry approached them with open arms. "You girls are going to love it here," she said warmly. "I'm Sharon." She led them into a massive suite with a breathtaking view of the city. Everything inside was perfect: the fluffy white beds, the sparkling chandelier, the giant bathtub. "You'll be treated like queens," Sharon assured them. That night, they ate the finest food, laughed, and felt special for the first time in their lives. Maybe this was the best decision they had ever made. The next morning, Sharon took them to an expensive mall. The girls picked out designer dresses, high heels, and luxury perfumes. Everything was paid for. "Is this real?" Kaya asked, staring at her reflection in a mirror. She had never looked so glamorous. Sharon smiled. "Get used to it." That evening, after a lavish dinner, Sharon sat them down. Her smile faded and her voice became serious. "You'll be meeting important men tomorrow," she said. "They are rich, powerful, and very generous, but they expect total obedience. Don't embarrass yourselves." A strange feeling settled in Mary's stomach. She looked at Kaya, who avoided her gaze. "We just have to do it once, right?" Kaya whispered later that night. Mary nodded. Just once. The next evening, a sleek black car took them to the marina, where a massive private yacht floated on the water. Music played, and well-dressed Arab men sipped expensive champagne, laughing and talking. As soon as Mary and Kaya stepped aboard, eyes turned to them. They felt exposed in their tight, revealing dresses. A bald, overweight man walked up to Kaya. He didn't smile. "Come with me," he ordered. Mary barely had time to react before another man grabbed her wrist. "Let's go!" Fear shot through her, but she forced a smile and followed. Kaya was led into a dimly lit room. The man shut the door and leaned against it. "Undress?" he said. Kaya froze. He narrowed his eyes. "I said undress." When she didn't move, he slapped her hard. Tears filled her eyes as she clutched her burning cheek. Her hands shook as she obeyed. In the next room, Mary faced something worse. Her client left briefly and returned with 5 other men. "Lie down," one of them ordered. Mary's breath caught in her throat. "Please," she whispered. But there was nowhere to run. The hours that followed were a blur of pain, fear, and helplessness. Mary and Kaya barely had the strength to walk. As they were shoved outside, their bodies ached and their spirits were broken. They cried the entire way home. Back at the hotel, they collapsed onto the bed, shaking. Their dream had turned into a nightmare. Sharon walked in, watching them with an amused smile. "Welcome to the real world, my darlings," she said, her voice dripping with mockery. "Get used to it." Days passed in silence. Mary and Kaya barely spoke about what had happened on the yacht. They tried to erase it from their minds, drowning themselves in shopping, luxury, and the illusion of a better life. Then, one evening, Sharon called them into her suite. She leaned back on the velvet couch, swirling a glass of wine in her hand. "I have another job for you," she said casually. Mary and Kaya glanced at each other. The last job had been horrible, but the money had been good. Maybe this one wouldn't be so bad. $20,000 each, Sharon continued. Mary's heart skipped a beat. That was 4 times what they had made before. But then Sharon smirked. "The client has a special request." Something about the way she said it sent chills down their spines. "What request?" Kaya asked hesitantly. Sharon took a slow sip of her wine before speaking. "It involves a cow." Silence. Mary felt her stomach turn. Kaya's eyes widened in shock. "You can't be serious," Kaya whispered, her voice shaking. Sharon shrugged. "You need the money, don't you?" The words hit them like a slap. They did need the money. They had tasted wealth, and now they couldn't imagine going back to poverty. That night, they were taken to a private villa on the outskirts of the city. The place was extravagant: golden chandeliers, marble floors, and an overwhelming scent of expensive cologne. 2 wealthy men sat on plush chairs, sipping whiskey, waiting for the show. What happened next was unspeakable. When it was finally over, Mary and Kaya ran out of the villa, shaking and crying. They rushed to the hospital where doctors hooked them up to IV drips. Their bodies ached, their souls felt destroyed. They swore never to do it again. A few days after the horrifying night on the yacht, Sharon called again. Her voice was as sweet as ever, like she wasn't about to ruin them all over again. $50,000 each, she said casually, as if she was offering them a free lunch. Kaya's stomach turned. Without a second thought, she shook her head. Number never again. Mary, however, hesitated. $50,000. That was more money than most people made in a year. It could change their lives forever. They could finally leave this behind. Just one more time. She turned to Kaya, her voice barely above a whisper. One last time. After this, we'll be millionaires. Kaya's jaw tightened, her eyes clouded with emotions. Fear, regret, maybe even guilt. They had sworn to each other that the last time was truly the last. But here they were again, standing at the edge of something dark, something that would stain them even deeper. She looked away, exhaling shakily. Okay, she whispered, one last time. That night, a black luxury car picked them up. The drive was long and silent, the air thick with tension. Neither of them spoke. What was there to say? They both knew this wasn't right, but they had already made their decision. The car pulled up to a massive villa, hidden behind tall gates and thick walls, the kind of place where screams would never be heard. Inside, the room was dimly lit, but the men waiting for them were clearly visible. There were no fake smiles this time, no sweet-talking or champagne, just business. Swallow it, one of them said coldly, sliding a silver tray toward them. Mary and Kaya's eyes widened in horror. On the tray lay things no human should ever consume. Their stomachs turned just looking at it. Kaya gagged, covering her mouth as tears welled up in her eyes. I can't do this, she choked out, her entire body trembling. Mary grabbed her hand, squeezing it tight. Her own face was pale, her breathing unsteady, but she forced a smile, a lie painted across her lips. We're almost done, she whispered. Just one last time. Kaya wanted to run. Every part of her screamed at her to get up, to leave, to disappear and never look back. But she couldn't. Not when Mary was still sitting there. Not when they had already come this far. So, with hands shaking, they obeyed. The ordeal felt endless, like time had slowed down just to torture them. Every second was a fresh wave of disgust, pain, and shame. But when it was finally over and they sat back in the car on the way home, there was only one thing on their minds, checking their accounts. With a deep breath, Mary opened her banking app. $50,000, Kaya checked hers. $50,000, the pain, the humiliation, the absolute horror of what they had just endured. For a moment, it all disappeared. One night, Mary and Kaya sat in their luxurious penthouse, the city lights of Dubai stretching out beneath them like a sea of stars. Soft music played in the background, and the air smelled of expensive perfume and champagne. They lounged on their velvet couch, their freshly manicured fingers scrolling through social media. They had gotten used to the rubbish, and they decided to use every penny for their enjoyment. Their follower count had doubled overnight. Look at this, Mary chuckled, holding up her phone. People are obsessed with us. Comments flooded their posts. You're living the dream. I wish I had your life. How did you get rich so fast? They laughed, their diamond bracelets glinting under the chandelier's soft glow. Hard work, Kaya replied to one of the comments, smirking. The truth, it was anything but hard work. It was pain. It was degradation. It was nights they wanted to forget, but never could. But the money made it all seem worth it. They flaunted their wealth shamelessly, posting pictures with designer handbags, showing off luxury vacations in the Maldives, filming themselves unboxing expensive jewelry. Every day they received messages from young girls begging them to share their secrets to success. They played the role well, dressed in silk robes, sipping wine by infinity pools, wearing outfits that screamed wealth. They weren't just living lavishly, they were becoming influencers. And with influence came opportunities. After weeks of showing off their glamorous lifestyle online, brands began to notice Mary and Kaya. Messages flooded their inbox. Companies wanted them to promote products, wear their clothes, and even become brand ambassadors. Some offered free luxury items, while others promised big money for a simple Instagram post. One evening, as they lounged in their lavish penthouse, Mary tossed a glossy fashion magazine onto the table. "Why are we making other people rich?" she asked, her eyes gleaming with an idea. Kaya looked at her, confused. "What do you mean?" Mary grinned. "Let's start our own clothing line. We already have the followers. If we sell them the lifestyle, they'll buy the clothes too." Kaya hesitated, but the idea made sense. They had spent months showing off designer outfits. Why not sell their own? Without wasting time, they launched an online boutique. They didn't design the clothes themselves. Instead, they found high-end suppliers who made designer-inspired dresses, shoes, and accessories. They carefully chose pieces that screamed wealth and elegance, just like their own style. Then came the marketing. Every post was carefully planned. They took pictures wearing their own clothes, standing in front of sports cars, sipping wine by infinity pools, draped in luxury. Their followers didn't just want the outfits, they wanted the life that came with them. And so, they bought. Money rolled in faster than ever. Sales skyrocketed, sponsorship deals grew, and their secret profession kept fueling their expensive lifestyle. They weren't just influencers anymore, they were businesswomen. The plan to leave everything behind, forgotten. The money was too good, the power was too tempting. Kaya sat on the couch, her fingers tapping against the glass of wine in her hand. She and Mary had done everything they once swore they wouldn't, but now they had something they had never dreamed of. $1 million in their bank accounts. "We have $1 million, Kaya said, her voice soft but firm. "Let's stop." Mary didn't answer right away. She swirled the wine in her glass, deep in thought. The money was good, no, great. But was it ever enough? After a long pause, she finally spoke. "There's a new job, $500,000 each." Kaya's eyes widened. $500,000? What kind of job? Mary leaned in, lowering her voice. "We'll meet a man in Sweden, all expenses paid. It's easy money." Kaya hesitated. She had wanted out for a while now, but $500,000? That was too much to ignore. Against her better judgment, she nodded. One last time. Moment they landed in Sweden, luxury surrounded them. A chauffeur picked them up in a sleek black limousine, driving them through streets lined with grand buildings and breathtaking architecture. The air smelled of wealth and power. They arrived at a lavish palace, its towering golden gates swinging open for them. Inside, everything gleamed: marble floors, crystal chandeliers, gold-plated furniture. It was a place built for kings. Seated on a grand golden throne was a man who radiated dominance. He was tall, strikingly handsome, with piercing blue eyes that seemed to look right through them. He didn't smile. "I've been watching you," he said in a deep, smooth voice. "African girls worship you. They want your lifestyle." Mary and Kaya exchanged a glance. Lion, that was his name, stood up and gestured for them to follow. They walked down a long hallway until he pushed open a massive door. Inside was a room filled with young, terrified girls. Their eyes were hollow, their skin pale from fear. Kaya's stomach twisted. Something was very, very wrong. Lion turned to them with a smirk. "I run an empire," he said. "I provide girls to powerful men. I want you to recruit for me." Mary's breath hitched. "Recruit? For every girl you bring in, you'll make $500,000 a month." Silence filled the air. The weight of his words crashed down on them. This wasn't just about selling their bodies anymore. This was about selling others. It was no longer prostitution, it was human trafficking. Kaya took a shaky step back. This was the moment that would define who they truly were. Did they really want this life? Maya and Kaya are placed in a serious dilemma, to either choose to endanger young girls and enrich themselves or do not agree it at all. What do you think they will choose? Find out in part 2 of this amazing story. Please like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts on this. Have you ever heard or experienced something like this? Let us know and see you in part 2. Thank you for watching. Love you all.